The nation has been plunged into another familiar cycle of shock, condolences, and frustration following Monday's deadly shooting in a Nashville private Christian elementary school that claimed the lives of 3 children and 3 adults. While President Joe Biden has done everything in his power to address gun control and urged Congress to act, both sides of the political divide have been quick to admit that the recent gun violence in Nashville is unlikely to sway a divided Congress to implement substantive gun control efforts. Despite over 130 mass shootings this year, many Republican lawmakers have been reluctant to use the Nashville shooting as a platform for gun control reforms or have outrightly rejected further gun control regulations, arguing that there is no public appetite for tougher restrictions. While Biden has signed several executive orders on guns and expanded background checks, his party has struggled to push through gun control legislation, partly due to the 60-vote threshold needed for passage. White House officials have acknowledged the political realities of gun reform in the current makeup of Congress, where Republicans control the House and have rejected Biden's calls for an assault weapons ban. Despite the growing public concern about gun violence, some lawmakers are still hesitant to take concrete steps towards gun control, advocating instead for measures that focus on improving mental health and school security. The reluctance of lawmakers to pursue gun control measures following the Nashville school shooting is yet another reminder of the deep polarization and divisiveness in the country when it comes to gun rights and regulation. Despite the urgent need for action, both parties seem stuck in their positions, unable to find common ground and compromise. The sad reality is that mass shootings have become a routine occurrence in America, with little to no progress made in preventing them. The statistics are staggering, with hundreds of lives lost every year and countless more affected by the trauma and devastation. And yet, the response from lawmakers is often a predictable and ineffective mix of thoughts and prayers and empty promises. It's time for a change. It's time for lawmakers to put aside their partisan differences and take meaningful action to address gun violence in America. This is not about taking away people's Second Amendment rights or infringing on their freedom. It's about ensuring that our communities are safe and secure, that our children can go to school without fear of being gunned down, and that we can live our lives without the constant threat of violence. There are a number of common-sense gun control measures that could be implemented to reduce the frequency and severity of mass shootings. These include universal background checks, closing loopholes that allow people to purchase guns without a background check, banning assault weapons, and implementing red flag laws to temporarily remove guns from individuals who pose a risk to themselves or others. These measures are not radical or extreme. They are widely supported by the majority of Americans, including gun owners and members of both parties. It's time for our elected officials to listen to their constituents and act on their behalf. Of course, there are those who will argue that gun control measures are ineffective and that they only serve to disarm law-abiding citizens. But the evidence suggests otherwise. Countries with stricter gun control laws have lower rates of gun violence, and states with stronger gun laws have fewer gun deaths than those with weaker laws. The truth is that gun violence is a complex and multifaceted problem, and there is no single solution that will solve it overnight. But that doesn't mean we should do nothing. We owe it to the victims and their families to take action, to try to prevent future tragedies, and to make our communities safer. It's time for our elected officials to step up and do the right thing. The Nashville school shooting should serve as a wake-up call, a reminder that we cannot afford to be complacent or resigned to the status quo. We need action, and we need it now. The time for thoughts and prayers is over. It's time for action. We cannot show the video because it is so unkind behavior of humanity to kill innocents with any reason. People subscribe us for authenticity, so you should consider subscribing.